Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really digging into an absolutely fascinating case study in renewable energy, Conway, Arkansas.
Yeah, Conway. You might not immediately picture Arkansas when you think solar leader.
Exactly.
Mhm.
But they've really emerged, balancing some cutting edge in tech with something, well, absolutely vital where they are,
hmm
climate resilience.
And that's the fascinating part for me, how they've proactively tackled some pretty significant weather challenges. Severe storms, hail, tons of rain.
Making their solar setups not just efficient, but remarkably tough.
Exactly. So we'll explore how they're actually doing that, what it costs the people, and, the bigger impact it's having.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Our mission today is to figure out how Conway is building this truly resilient solar strategy, even in a place that gets hit by some serious storms.
And what lessons we can maybe pull from their approach.
Right, so here's where it gets really interesting. Conway faces some intense weather risks. We're talking a 2025 storm outlook that mentions strong to extremely intense tornadoes, over 50 inches of rain a year, and even winds from hurricanes hitting the Gulf Coast.
Yeah, residual winds, but still significant. So you look at that and think, how on earth do you make solar panels survive that?
It seems like a huge challenge. So what's the engineering answer?
Well, it really comes down to smart engineering. Conway uses these storm-resistant mounts. They're actually designed to handle winds up to 120 miles per hour,
Wow, okay. That's serious.
way beyond typical specs. And they elevate the panel arrays, too.
Ah, to keep them out of floodwaters.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Plus, it allows for dual land use. They've actually got things like pollinator habitats growing underneath.
that's clever.
And maybe the cleverest bit, they use real-time monitoring. Sensors can automatically tilt the panels to help shed like heavy hail or torrential rain.
Automatically. That's incredible foresight. And are they also using the latest panel tech? I'm thinking like those bifacial ones.
Oh, absolutely. They're using bifacial panels, the ones that capture sunlight on both sides. That can boost the energy output by, up to 15%. And they combine that with single-axis trackers.
So the panels follow the sun through the day.
Right. Compared to fixed panels, that bumps up the daily energy production by another 25% or so. It's really about squeezing out every bit of power.
Okay, impressive tech, serious resilience. But what about the cost? Does this make sense for, say, an average homeowner in Conway?
That's always the bottom line, isn't it? So let's take a typical residential system, maybe around 12.5 kilowatts. The upfront cost averages around $30,000, roughly.
Okay, before incentive.
Before incentives, yeah. But then you factor in the 30% federal tax credit, and that brings it down significantly, closer to $21,000.
Right.
And the payback period, it averages about 10 years, maybe a bit more.
Which isn't bad for that kind of investment.
Not at all. And over 25 years, the potential savings for homeowners could be over $38,000. So it shows that investing in this resilient tech, it does pay off long term.
Okay, so the tech is there, the economics can work for individuals. Where do we see this all come together on a bigger scale?
That would be the Conway Solar at Happy project. It's really the flagship example.
A big one. Tell us about that.
It's huge. 135 megawatt utility scale project, powers about 21,400 homes every year.
Wow.
It sits on 700 acres, uses nearly 300,000 of those bifacial panels we talked about.
Okay.
And it really shows that adaptive design principle in action. They even integrated a 5-acre native plant garden for pollinators right into the site.
That's fantastic. And has its resilience actually been tested?
It has. Critically, it went through some pretty nasty spring storms back in 2025. We're talking 2-inch hail, 70-mile-per-hour winds.
And the result?
No structural damage. It held up exactly as designed.
Incredible. That's proof of concept right there.
Absolutely. And beyond the resilience, it brought in $125 million in private investment and offset something like 166,000 metric tons of CO2 every year. It's a win-win-win.
So pulling this all together, what does this Conway story mean for you listening? It feels like their model, combining the tech with serious climate adaptation, supported by public-private partnerships and helpful policies like the federal tax credits and Arkansas's own net metering laws.
Right. Those net metering laws are key, too, letting homeowners get credit for extra power they send back to the grid.
It all adds up to a really powerful blueprint, doesn't it?
It really does. I think the main takeaway from Conway is pretty clear. Solar power is definitely viable, even in really challenging climates.
Yeah.
But you have to emphasize durability, you need that adaptive design, and thinking about ecological synergy like the pollinator habitats adds real value.
So it leaves us with this final thought to mull over. With extreme weather becoming, more common everywhere, How will other cities, other regions, take Conway's blueprint?
How will they adapt it for their own resilient energy future?
It's a really powerful question for all of us to consider.